on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
7:06 on this Friday morning in the nation's capital. Thanks for being part of what we do here. We appreciate it. We're going to close out your week strong and launch you into this weekend. Launch you into this spring break weekend for many people with everything you need to know. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka.
Happy Friday, Larry.
It is a happy Friday.
It is.
Are you ready for spring break? Are you?
I am. Yeah.
Excellent. You know you're a grown-up, right? You don't get spring break.
Especially when you're traveling with kids. But the joy on their face is enough of a break for me. So.
I have two kids who are college graduates now, and then, of course, the young men and women that we mentor through the Naval Academy sponsored. I sent them all a text saying, just a reminder, you're not in school anymore. You don't get spring break. And they were like, okay. Listen, yesterday, actually, forgive me, this was 2 days ago in the United States Senate. John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana.
Can I just say he's a national treasure
He
as well?
really is. And if you're a witness before his committee, be ready.
Thank you.
Because he will have you for lunch. And the Democrats made a huge mistake. They were doing a thing on climate change. He's from Louisiana. Louisiana is one of the few states that still has oil refineries where we refine our own oil into gas or imports of oil into gas. It also has a major port where oil is shipped out, the oil that we still barely produce here in America. Yeah. And they also receive oil imports as well. The fossil fuel industry is very important to Senator Kennedy's state and to his constituents.
Understandably.
So they're having a hearing about the harms of carbon emissions and how fossil fuels need to be knocked down. Very important thing for the Senate to be debating. And the Democrats made a mistake because they brought in an expert witness whose sole claim to fame and credentials is he is an Olympic cross-country skier and social media influencer.
Bingo. You should have led with the social media influencer. That's really his name.
This dude, I kid you not, because I've listened to this is about 6.5 minutes. We'll play portions of it. His entire argument is where I go to practice my cross-country skiing, there's a lot less snow there now than there used to be.
Well, there you go. That's all the data science evidence we need.
And my argument is sort of borrowed from Sam Kinison, which is move! Go where the snow is! What do you mean?
You know, he was also brought in because he looks great on camera.
Exactly.
He's got that nice flowing shoulder-length hair, wavy hair.
Well, yeah, John Kennedy, the senator, was not really impressed by that. So here's how the
argument being made
went.
to a
where'd that go? Here's how the questioning went.
What is carbon dioxide?
I went to high school, but that's carbon dioxide.
So well done. Oh, by the way, his name is Gus Schumacher. Okay. All right. So but he does answer the question.
Dioxide is a gas.
Okay.
I'm not a professional to talk about carbon dioxide so much, but
well, you want us to abolish it, right?
No, there's always going to be carbon dioxide.
Right. So what is it you want us to do? Let me back up because I want to. I mean, you're here as an expert. Tell me more about what carbon dioxide is.
I'm here as an expert cross-country skier who sees the changes in my winters and the landscape that I live in Alaska. And so carbon dioxide is what I see it as is, it's a gas that exists in our atmosphere. And
what, is it the major part of our atmosphere? Or?
It's a huge part of our atmosphere, yes.
It's actually a very small part of our atmosphere.
Carbon dioxide, by the way, in case you're keeping score at home, carbon dioxide makes up 0.035% of our atmosphere. It's a huge part of our atmosphere, dude. It's like, you remember the Miss South Carolina teen pageant? Whenever they're asked the questions about, and they always answer world peace, and they always repeat the question. This is the male equivalent of the Miss South Carolina.
You see, Senator Kennedy did what the Dems did not want him to do, which was to actually take one of their witnesses seriously.
Right. You've testified before Congress
I have testified multiple times last year alone. And you were either a person with a personal testimony, which is what Mr. Gus was there for,
right? Or
you're an expert on a particular subject matter. Senator Kennedy, though, treated the personal testimony as a subject expert, which is fair, though.
It is 100% fair because he wasn't just there to say, hey, I've witnessed this problem. This is my personal experience, because then he took it to the next conclusion, which is that's why you need to do this thing.
Exactly.
And that thing is cutting fossil fuels because of carbon dioxide. So there's more. It actually gets you almost start to feel sorry for this guy, but I don't. No.
Well, okay. But I don't know. What are you asking specifically?
Well, you say we need to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. I'd like to know first if you know what it is. You want us to abolish fossil fuels?
I never said that.
You never have said that?
No.
Okay. What do you think we ought to do with fossil fuels?
What will we do with fossil fuels?
Yeah. Should we make any changes?
I would like to see a decrease in the use of fossil fuels. I think there's a possibility to use more electric generation.
Okay, over what period of time? 10 years, 50 years, 100 years?
That's not, I would like to see it come as fast as possible while continuing.
How fast?
Sorry?
How fast?
I don't have a great answer for that, no.
Okay, you just think, well, how much will it cost for us to become carbon neutral in the United States by 2050?
I'm not a professional on that. I don't have an answer.
You don't have any idea?
No.
You just think we ought to spend the money?
I'm not an economist.
Yeah, but it's going to cost money. You realize that?
Yeah, but we've also talked about the trade-off of what the cost of climate change as emergencies will cost in the future also. So.
Right, but it's going to cost trillions of dollars to become carbon neutral by 2050, right?
I do not know.
You don't know. You just think we ought to do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
I don't have a great answer for you, but I think I would.
If we spent those trillions of dollars and became carbon neutral by 2050 in the United States, which you advocate, how much will it reduce world temperatures?
I don't have an answer for that.
You don't know?
No.
You just think we ought to spend the money and then see what happens?
I think as an athlete, I think if we spend that money and invest in our future, hopefully those temperatures stop rising. And
now it's glorious and it's beautiful and it's great.
I watched the clip online. The end, you see Chairman White House.
Yeah.
With his glasses on his nose, like, okay, I am going to fire somebody on the committee staff for bringing this joke in here.
Oh, yeah. Sheldon Whitehouse was not happy with how this went. But I do want to give Mr. Schumacher here, Gus Schumacher, the cross-country skier dude who's there to talk about how...
He was gutsy to even be there.
Yeah, and I also want to say, and this is what you really need to know, because I've seen Senator Kennedy do this, not with a cross-country skier.
Yeah, with other people.
I've seen him ask the exact same questions to the person at the EPA and the Department of Energy for the Biden administration, advocating the exact same thing from a position of authority, not because he's a cross-country skier and they don't have enough snow, but the actual people holding reins of power in this administration saying we need to cut so we can go to carbon neutral by 2050. And guess what? They can't answer these questions either. When you say, how much is it going to cost to go carbon neutral by 2050? They can't tell you. When they say, what kind of difference will it make? If we go carbon neutral by 2050 and spend $50 trillion doing it, how will it reduce the temperature? And they can't answer it either. So this cross-country skier, he's just as qualified as the people at the Department of Energy advocating for this stuff.
Well, I was going to say that he is similar to so many young people who've been duped.
Yeah.
They've been given a bunch of high-level talking points.
That's right.
And given this framed in alarmism that there's such a crisis emergency that it demands them to stand up and put everything on the line without understanding the bullet points or the research if there is any to support it, and there isn't.
And because of that, he was actually a perfect witness, frankly. I'm glad that he was there because he does absolutely represent a major force in the debate. And, well, thank you, Senator Kennedy, for doing the Lord's work. And giving us a good laugh.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
From headlines to hilarity, it's the Vince Colonnese Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on WMAL.
Hey.
Well, all right, Patrice, now. Patrice, you are so triggered by music. Patrice, we have some more fun audio from Capitol Hill, this time over on the House side. Although, if David Trone has his way, he would be a senator.
Yes,
he's running
trying to make
for
the
senator.
jump.
Yeah, he is. And he had a bit of a verbal flub, a slip up, let me just say, all of these words that I'm, graciously conveying to Democrat David Trone about what he said in the House, I assure you, if he were a Republican, he wouldn't have received so much grace. No, he would be called the racist that he is, because listen to what he said.
In government, businesses don't make decisions on investment, which creates the jobs based on the tax rate. I've made, in my past life, hundreds of millions of dollars of decisions each year on budgets and to build new buildings, enter new states. And not one time ever in the history of my life did I say, what's the tax rate next year? What you look at is, can you compete? Can you do it better than the other competitor? And with that, can you create a P&L statement that works? And the tax rate, that's after the P&L. It's never, ever once been a consideration. So this Republican jigaboo that, it's a tax rate that's stopping.
Wait.
Yikes.
I'm sorry, what now?
Everybody should have seen my face when he said that.
What
I'm
did
like, what?
Did he just...
So this Republican jigaboo that...
That's not a word that should be said. I haven't heard that word in like 30 years.
I haven't heard it since a black movie. I won't say which one it was, but yeah, it is a racial slur. It's inappropriate.
I'll say it is.
You should not be. I mean, it's close to the N-word.
Yeah.
Not quite there,
it's
but
in the same category.
It's in the family.
So this Republican jigaboo that...
That's David Trone. And let's let him finish his thought.
This investment is just completely faulty by people who've never run a business. They've never been there. They have not a clue what they're talking about.
So was he trying to say bugaboo? Was that...
I think he said that he meant to say bugaboo, but it's very odd. While I understand that they rhyme, but that he would go to the J word instead of bugaboo.
Yeah, because clearly this is a word that is sort of part of your vernacular or hidden away in a file cabinet somewhere.
Frankly, bugaboo is not a common word to use unless you're talking about the Destiny Child song that we played coming into the segment.
So this is David Trone, Democrat, representing the 6th District in Maryland, now trying to get the nomination to be the
U.S.
Senator.
So this Republican jigaboo that...
And by the way, Shalonda Young, director of the Office of Management and Budget, who happens to be an African-American woman, black woman, she was sitting there testifying when this sort of slipped out of David. It didn't slip. This was...
He just said it, and he didn't know. He didn't, sorry, excuse me. He had to be told later on and then issue an apology, a written apology.
So is Joy Reid going to do a segment on this about the hidden hand of racism in the Democratic Party and David Trone and his...
We should see, but Larry, let's think about the history of white politicians in this DMV area who have done racist things. In the past, they have gotten a slide. This was modern day, should know better, running for Senate in what could potentially be now turn Maryland into a purple state if the leading Republican contender, who's Larry Hogan, wins. So he's going to get a pass the way that former governor from Virginia.
Well, Ralph Northam did, yes. By the way, his opponent for the Democratic nomination is Prince George's executive, Angela Also Brooks, who is a black woman. I wonder if she will utilize this as a political weapon against her opponent.
So this Republican jigaboo that...
What?
It's offensive.
It's outrageous.
Come on. Can we just read what he said in his statement? We have time for that?
Sure. We got a few here.
All right. Today, while attempting to use the word bugaboo in a hearing... why would you use bugaboo?
Attempting to use the word. I'm going to try to use that word. Let's see how it goes.
Let me get Destiny's Child bugaboo into this hearing today.
All right.
There you go.
All right. God, do
used-
we need more Beyonce on this show, really?
I used a phrase that is offensive. That word has a long, dark, terrible history. It should never have been used at any time, anywhere,
So
in
why
any
is that
conversation.
even part of his
And
vocabulary?
thank you.
Yeah.
He continues, I recognize that as a white man, I have privilege.
Oh, here we
And
go.
as an elected official, I have a responsibility for the words I use,
Yeah.
especially in the heat of the moment, regardless of what I meant to say.
Let's see what happens here. Well, I will let you know that the latest polls are out now. University of Maryland Washington Post poll. He has pulled slightly ahead of Angela Also Brooks in the primary contest, which is scheduled for mid-May. We'll see if this makes a difference there. However, interestingly, as there is a Republican Senate nomination process going on as well, Larry Hogan, former governor of Maryland, is now leading both Democrat contenders by double digits.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
whether it's Trone or Also Brooks, right now, and Larry Hogan's main argument for getting the nomination is, I can win this.
Yes.
And this latest poll certainly reinforces that message. But there's a lot of games still to be played, including the fact that Larry Hogan has to secure that nomination. It's 7:23.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37 on O'Connor and Company. It's a Friday. We're sending you into the weekend the right way. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka.
A groovin'.
And you know, Patrice, there's a reason why we purposely on O'Connor and Company want to have a male voice and a female voice in the morning. Because sometimes we have issues that inherently, I think, men and women look at differently.
And we know what a man and a woman is.
And
by
that's
the
true.
way.
We actually we
do.
want to send the signal to everyone that we do recognize the distinction here. Which means, of course, neither of us will ever be on the Supreme Court. And by the way, I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about stuff that's way more important.
Yeah.
And this issue came up over the last couple of days having to do with dating. And most specifically having to do with, you know, the purpose of dating.
Okay.
And how long do you date a person if that ring isn't showing up or if there isn't sort of a next step to it? Somebody took to Twitter. Their name is Alessandra Bocci. And Alessandra said, I have a friend who's been in a relationship for 5 years.
Ouch.
She is 32 now.
Ouch.
He is 35. He says that he loves her, but doesn't feel ready to move in or commit.
No.
What are your thoughts? And many women who we respect, and like Harmeet Dillon, said, check please, next. Carol Roth, well past time to go and not look back. Mary Catherine Ham, if you want to get married, have kids, being honest with yourself on this is an important first step. 2-year max on relationships after 25 if it's not moving forward. Bethany Mandel said, actually, I think her max she put in there was 9 months. She said, the biggest mistake most of my friends have made in the dating world. But then some men have a different perspective, as you can imagine. So I wonder, and by the way, if you are in the situation where you are dating and you are trying to wonder how long it should go, or if you have a deadline that you build in, give us a call at 888-630-9625. How long should you date someone and continue that process if it's not leading to marriage, if the whole purpose of dating is marriage in the first place, which is, by the way, another question. 888-630-9625. And if your child maybe is asking your advice on this, what do you tell them? 888-630-WMAL. Okay. I think men get married for the most part because they have to. Now, let me rephrase that. Not because they've, gotten a woman in a situation where they have to get married. No, I mean that all things being equal, if a man can have everything that society and culture can provide without getting married, he will do it. Because to a man, marriage means no more options with other women. And men, I think, inherently, they're built for variety.
Interesting.
And men make that trade-off. Men say, okay, I will give up the freedom to be able to date as many women as I want in exchange for all of these good things that I'm going to get out of marriage, which is the constant companionship and security and the ability to be a father and everything. And that's why, by the way, I'm one of the reasons why I have really sort of resisted and been somewhat critical of the traditional feminist movement in America, which says a woman can choose her own path, have it all, and do all of these things partly because I think that it changes the equation between men and women as we were inherently created. That's a faith-based objection. But also, I think it's because it lets men off the hook. You see, if men no longer have to marry a woman to have, like, in other words, the traditional feminist message to a woman is you can behave just like a man does. And if you want to have multiple partners, you can have multiple partners. All that stuff, which is like, okay, if women now approach the dating scene in that way, the same way a man does, then why should a man get married? And I think that's a drawback because if it lets men off the hook from getting married, that's bad for society. So, long answer to a question. I think that men will date and not commit for as long as they possibly can until they can't anymore. Okay. And it's up to women to force the issue. That's what I think.
Without feeling like we're forcing him into a corner.
Well, maybe sometimes a man needs to be forced into a corner. And by the way, if a man does need to be forced into a corner,
though,
but the question is, do you stick with him or do you move on?
All right. So the question, do you stick with him? You absolutely move on. My recommendation: 1 year. 1 year of dating, and that's inclusive of at least 6 months of exclusivity. I mean, I know, listen, this dating thing is so complicated. I don't know if it's the jargon or whether it's the expectations, but I'm talking about it's two people who are not seeing anyone else. They are together for at least 6 months, but no more than a year. So without knowing, okay, the next step is within a certain amount of time, we are going to get engaged and get married.
Now, I think it's interesting that Mary Catherine Ham said specifically to 25 years old. Like if you're under 25, go ahead and date. But once you hit 25, if you're dating to get married.
I would say early 20s and above, because you can find very good quality guys in your early 20s. And frankly, let's be realistic. Young women are much more attractive at a younger age physically to men than they get. And I'm saying this as a woman. I know I could be getting into trouble, but I'm just saying that there are a lot more options when you're younger. Yeah. So why not start thinking about that? And if it means you're dating an older man who's now ready to settle down, hey, that's fine. But I do not give it 5 years as this young woman did, 4 years, 3 years. Yeah, I have heard men know within a few months whether you are who they want to marry.
I think that's...
So why drag it out for years?
I think that's accurate. Yeah, and this woman is 32 now. I would absolutely advise her, right now. Cut it and go. All right. You've heard from us. We'll hear from you. 888-630 WMAL. So how long do you date somebody before you fish or cut bait, right? Talking about a story of a woman who is 32 now, dated for 5 years, still no sign of a ring. And most of the advice here is time to move on. One other quick thing here, and a personal experience. When I got married, I was 28. Yeah. And it was because I decided, okay, I want to get married now. Yeah. And as soon as and up until that moment, all the dating that I did, I wasn't dating to get married. I was dating to date. I was dating to have fun. I was dating to have companionship. When I decided, you know what, because of what my faith tells me, because I had just recently returned to my faith, it's like, oh, I want a wife. I want a family. I want to be a father. Within 6 months, I found the woman that I wanted to get married. Time. That's the reality of it. How about Brad and Lorton? Brad, what do you think?
Well, it's like I told the call screener. And by the way, love the show, guys.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks.
But I'm from a different generation. My wife and I have been married 39 years.
Wow.
And we dated for 2 years before I proposed, and then another year before we actually got married. Now, some of that was, military schools and this and that and the other. But, if you expect to really get to know someone for a lifelong relationship, Larry, you're lucky. You're lucky, okay? It happens, but it's not the rule. But if you expect to find somebody and know everything you need to know for a lifelong relationship in 9 months, I think you might need a little more time.
Okay. A little bit more time, but still, but the intention there, Brad, and I appreciate the call. The intention is to get married. It's just, but I just want to take a little more time. By the way, Brett, I'm not that lucky because that actually only lasted 15 years. To some people,
15
that's
years is a good long time.
It was
but,
okay,
yeah.
but now I'm with my lifetime partner.
Yes.
Anyway, Buff at Anacostia. What do you say, Buff?
Morning, Larry.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I just want to take a little different perspective on just the whole purpose of marriage as far as our culture. I think it's one of the fundamental problems with our culture is the fact that we don't take marriage seriously as an institution.
100%.
Similar to the last caller, my wife and I have been married for 36 years. I'll be 37 in September. We have 13 kids.
Wow.
And I think it's incumbent upon men to take responsibility for the culture, as opposed to just like you were saying, dating for entertainment, enjoyment, whatever. That's not what it's all about, and I think that's a problem in our culture of men not actually taking responsibility.
I am with you, Buff. I 100% agree with you, and I got there. Eventually, I guess the point I'm making, and I do appreciate the call when I get to more, but I guess, Patrice, the point I was making was men generally will take responsibility when they're forced to take responsibility.
Or when they feel ready.
But even when they feel ready, it's like if
they don't have to.
Again, I think men need to take responsibility, and the best way for a man to take responsibility is for the woman that they want to be with making them take responsibility.
Meanwhile, women, from the day we're born, there's something innate about wanting that one person to spend our life with. So,
Alan in Springfield, what do you say, Alan?
Good morning.
Yeah.
I wanted to can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great, Alan. Go ahead.
I wanted to just comment about the timing. Mm-hmm. I had one rule that I would never go on a blind date, but my first blind date, I did not impress. But after the second date, we spent 5 hours over dinner getting to know each other. And we basically put everything on the table, and if it's not going to work, then let's not pursue it and waste our time.
Yeah.
That was 51 years ago.
Wow.
Hey. All right. And she was the one. I love that.
I'm an analyst, and I always make a list of why I should or why I shouldn't. Mm-hmm. My wife, I never did that. In 3 weeks, I knew she was the one.
Wow.
I waited 3 more weeks because I hate rejection. I asked her to be my wife. She said yes.
I love it.
Beautiful.
Alan, congratulations. Thanks for sharing that. It's a great way to finish out here. By the way, it's a good thing you didn't make that pro and con list, because if she ever found it, that would these are the cons against marrying me? I see. Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a strong point. And nobody take me the wrong way. I'm just talking the reality about how men think about these things.
And it's important that women understand that, because I don't think a lot of women understand how men think. And what happens, you're the one who's there for 4 or 5 years, and then you break up, and then 6 months later, your ex is engaged to someone else, and women don't understand that that's what usually happens. So
is there a story you'd like to tell us, Patrice?
No, not today.
It's 7:54.